Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Wisdom Tree Podcast. I am your spiritual mentor and guide, Dr. Genie. And for those of you who don't know me, if you're new here, I am a historian. I'm a feminist philosopher. I am a minister of spiritual humanism and recently became a dream builder coach certified by Mary Morrissey and the Brave Thinking Institute. The Wisdom Tree podcast is brought to you by the Choose Love Ministry. And together, our mission is to promote our four core values: wisdom, compassion, equanimity, and agape love. So, thank you for joining me for part 2 of my 4-part Women's History Month series on feminine superpowers. During the last episode, we talked about the first superpower of intuition. Women's intuition isn't just a saying, it's true. While both men and women can access an inner knowing, for the feminine, it is a stronger connection and a superpower. For feminine dominant individuals, because there are men who are feminine dominant. And so anyone who has a feminine dominant energy, intuition is the superpower. Unfortunately, over the last several thousand years, the power dynamic in the world has shifted from being sort of egalitarian, and the superpowers of the masculine took over society. The superpowers of the feminine became less important, unimportant even. The natural gifts of the feminine were domesticated, they were silenced, and women were relegated to a life of serving the patriarchy, having little power over their own lives. Now, at times, women have come together and they have created powerful change in the world. But every time we do, we are put right back in our place. For example, the very successful Women's March in 2017. Since then, women have been under attack. Women's autonomy has been under attack. And there are threats of more laws. Legislatures all across the US are passing rules over what a woman can do and what a woman can't do. One politician has even proudly boasted he would love to go back to a time before women had the right to vote. There is no better time than now for women to reconnect with their lost natural superpowers. So last week, we did an exercise and we reconnected with our intuition. And if you missed that episode, you can find it on my Facebook page, on my blog, and of course, here on the Wisdom Tree podcast. But this week, I want to move on to the next 3 superpowers because there are 10 and we have, 9 more still to get through. Superpower number 2 is perception. Perception is like a lens that a person wears that filters everything that comes into our awareness through our senses. What we see, what we feel, what we hear, what we notice. This lens is how we understand all those things that come in, how we interpret every stimulus that enters our sphere of awareness. Everyone has perception, and everyone perceives the world in a unique way. For example, for the masculine, perception is a very linear thing. It's very black and white. There's not a lot of gray area. You're right or you're wrong. You're good or you're bad. You're with us or you're against us. It's either yes or it's no. It's very hard for the masculine to shift perception. And this can be a good thing because it gives us a backbone to fight for our beliefs and to fight for what's right. If there's something that is absolutely right, then accessing the masculine perception gives us the power to stand up for that and not be swayed into thinking something else. But it can also become toxic when a person is so unmoving and so unable to alter their perception, even when new evidence is presented to them. Okay. They cannot take that lens off for any reason, no matter what it costs them. Okay. Even if it becomes an untrue perception. Okay. For the feminine, perception is expansive. It considers the information that comes in through all of our senses, including our intuitive senses. Sometimes life is not as simple as good or bad, black or white. There is gray area. This is a feminine superpower because that means women can shift their lens. They can take that lens off. Okay. They can clean it. They can recolor it. So this skill is helpful in negotiations. It's helpful in peacemaking. It's helpful when you're cooperatively living with people. It's a skill needed for meting out justice. We know women tend to be the peacemakers in their families. The matriarch of the family brings everyone together. She mediates family drama and she understands that people make mistakes and need to be guided sometimes, not just punished, but not just justice is not just needed, but guided. She gets the idea that no matter how thin you make a pancake, there's always going to be two sides to it, right? Unfortunately, matriarchs are really rare in families today, I have found. People have moved far away from their families. In my own family, though I stayed close to home most of the time, the two elder women who should have been matriarchs could not perceive anyone's needs but their own. And they were gossips and they hurt people. They manipulated people. They tried to get people on their side and turn against other family members who weren't towing the line, who weren't playing the game they wanted it played. So these women had very masculine energy in their perception skills. You either played their game or you were outside the family. You were either with me or you were against me. They couldn't shift their perception to see that members of the family had the right to be their own people with their own thoughts and their own lives and their own boundaries. And it's really sad. And I know a lot of you can relate, right? But feminine perception is a skill that has to be honed. And a vital element to perception, being a superpower, is having a well-developed sense of discernment and sensitivity. Perception is not just how you view the world. Is your world a safe place? Can you trust people? Do you believe most people are good? Do you believe most people are bad? Those are perceptions. Can you tell when you are being manipulated and gaslit? Can you sense when someone has more to say as they're telling you something, but they can't open up? So you're missing part of the story. Maybe it's that they aren't comfortable, or maybe they're intentionally hiding something from you. Can you perceive which it is? Can you tell when someone who made a terrible mistake in the past has grown and become a better person and deserves a second chance? To use your perception, you must be able to discern the meaning of what is being said and what is being not said by filtering all the information coming through your senses, all the senses, even your sixth sense. So you get a full picture and a full understanding of what the situation is, right? So yeah, a connection to your intuition, having intuition as the superpower is important here, okay? But listen, the feminine was domesticated. The feminine skill of perception has been domesticated and misused and underused, and women were relegated as second-class citizens. So we don't often trust our inner warning system. We don't trust our skill of discernment. We think we're overreacting. We think we're overthinking, okay? And not having a connection to our perception creates toxic situations for us. Domestic violence, gaslighting, being taken advantage of, not setting boundaries, not keeping boundaries. These are situations that rob us of our independence and our success. Okay. But what have we lost? That's for us personally, we've lost our independence and success. But what have we lost as a whole society without the superpower of perception? Okay. Well, we see other countries and other people that aren't like us as our enemy. Okay. our perception of the world is that it's dangerous and everyone is out to get us. So we choose war a lot over peacemaking. We choose to spend money making terrifying weapons and yet not ensuring our children can go to school without being victims of those weapons. Okay. That's what we've lost. Real safety and security, right? Yeah. We live with fear because we've lost the feminine superpower perception. So that brings us to superpower number 3, okay, which is community building. This is where you don't look at everybody as an enemy, okay? The feminine is social and works very well in cooperative groups. Women are known to be organizers of social groups, benefit organizations, clubs, nonprofits. If you've had a kid play sports or participate in band, you know who was in the concession stand and who was making food and who was ordering uniforms and who was organizing the fundraiser and the band trips and the transportation. Okay. Society has always been a very, very important to the survival of humans. Matriarchal societies were egalitarian. Power was shared cooperatively, and women played a significant role in maintaining the community. Okay? As hunter-gatherers, you need enough people in your tribe to be safe and to complete your work to gather the food. As the hunter-gatherers, you also don't want too many people in your community because then you need more food and your area that you're gathering food from quickly becomes depleted and you have to move on. Okay. So women were likely partially responsible for, hey, let's see who comes into our tribe. It's likely in a matrilineal society where men joined the wife's tribe that the process of choosing the man and bringing a new member into the community was arranged by women. This does happen in tribes in Africa, in primitive type tribes that are still in Africa. A vital component to community building is the ability to empower others. Egalitarian, unlike even communism, where women's roles were not defined by Marx, egalitarian societies empower each member of the community to share their skills, express their voice, and become the best versions of self they can. In the progressive Gilded Age in America, women came together and created community centers to help immigrant industrial workers learn English. They helped feed children. They gave space for groups to gather. They organized the suffrage movement. But even though they showed such competence in organizing, women were passed over for joining top social organizations and were relegated to auxiliaries to those they could join. Okay, and had no or few opportunities in those organizations except to help fundraise or organize events for the male members. And this is where women have been in their use of community building superpower, organizing events for men-only communities or men-run clubs and organizations. There are few examples of autonomous female groups to compare with the plethora of male social groups. Now, I can think of a few. We have Girl Scouts, and though those are mostly, you think of young girls being in the Girl Scouts, women can be members as adults. Okay, and there are benefits to women being members as adults. You have the YWCA that was formed for women, which mostly now are event centers. You had suffrage clubs, you had the League of Women Voters, and then you had the National Organization of Women. And do any of those, but the YWCA and Girl Scouts, even still exist? I don't know. But these are the only national level ones. Well, there was also the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Daughters of the Confederacy, but those are like exclusive. You had to have an ancestor that was part of the revolution or part of the Confederacy to get into those. So I don't think those count because those were not open to all women. But there are dozens and dozens of traditionally men's only clubs nationally, right? Where women were not admitted and maybe still aren't admitted except as an auxiliary, but not as full members, like the Masons in the United States, the Lions Club, the Kiwanis, Rotary, Bohemian Club, Knights of Columbus. The YMCA started as a men's club. Now it's open to all. The Fraternal Order of the Eagles, the Shriners, the Moose Club, which is now open in membership. And of course, they would have also had the Sons of the American Revolution and the Sons of the Confederacy. And really, the biggest boys' club until recently was the United States Congress. And, I don't know if they've still have yet built restrooms for women members to easily access. I know a few years ago they hadn't. So women accept auxiliary posts where they work very hard on behalf of male-centered organizations in lieu of creating their own organizations because they don't realize their superpower in bringing a group of women together to work cooperatively to better their communities and the world. Women increase the success of every organization they're allowed to be part of, even Congress. And it's time to reconnect with this superpower and create a woman-centric national organization to do our work together. What have we lost as a society without women creating community? Well, clearly our idea of community has become skewed and constricted. We take and take without much thought for our responsibility to our tribes, to our communities. What's in it for me is the most destructive paradigm of the human mind, but it's how we operate, right? And our last superpower might help us with that. Superpower number 4 is transformation. Feminine transformation is about transforming the self, capital S, the individual, the soul, the consciousness, okay? Making an internal shift that brings us in alignment with our highest potential and allowing that inner transformation to influence the process for others. Masculine transformation is an external process. If you want to transform your body into one that is more fit, that's a masculine process. Lifting weights, running, what have you. If you want to transform a rock into a carving, that's a masculine process. If you want to transform negative thoughts into empowering thoughts, that's a feminine process. We use the butterfly as a symbol of this transformation. And the caterpillar's transformation in reality is both a physical and a spiritual process. So both masculine and feminine. But because the caterpillar creates the cocoon and inside it completely dissolves into goo and then wholly remakes itself, something a human can only do spiritually, this makes for a beautiful symbol for feminine spiritual transformation. The problem is that we don't learn how to transform spiritually or consciously. We're only given instruction to transform our body and our behavior. We're only shown the masculine path of transformation because what others see and perceive in us is what's important in a patriarchal world. A reminder again, both men and women have both masculine and feminine energy within them. Men can access inner transformation just as women can access physical transformation. For women, though, inner transformation is a superpower. Because remember, women expand. So what they do, they don't keep to themselves, right? Women are excellent transformational leaders. They're able to see the potential in someone and guide them to their path. Transformational leaders need the skills of emotional intelligence, creativity, inspiring storytelling, adaptability, collaboration skills, and communication. These are all characteristics that give the feminine this superpower. Unfortunately, women are not given these opportunities often. Feminine dominant people are not given these opportunities often. And so we doubt our own potential and we fail to transform ourselves and create a life we would love. Self-doubt is by far the biggest paradigm women have to face in their attempt at success. And this self-doubt affects our manifesting ability and disconnects us from our superpower to transform. Unfortunately, for thousands of years, patriarchal stoicism has been a very powerful tool. The great Roman leaders were stoics. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps, okay? What you're feeling inside and how you need to transform your inner world was not important, okay? Buck up. Show the world that you have your shit together, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter what's going on inside. It's how you portray yourself outside. Get over it. Move on. Put the past behind you. Again, another feminine superpower deemed not vital for the survival of humanity. But what if we lost as a society without being able to transform our insides? We've lost inner peace. We've lost happiness. We've lost contentment. We've lost our ability to be free like the butterfly. It's big losses, guys, big losses. All three of today's superpowers, perception, community building, and transformation, require that we pay close attention to our senses and understand whatever the current situation might be. Don't be blind. Don't have dark perception lenses on where you can't see the reality of the situation. These are problem-solving superpowers, and especially in a cooperative setting with a group of equals. How can we acknowledge and reconnect with these natural abilities, all three of these abilities? First, work on listening. Listen to others around you. Listen to their words, listen to their tone, and to what they don't say, but show through their behavior. Listen to your own inner voice. Listen for needs, desires, longings, and discontents from yourself and from people in your community. Ask yourself, how can I better understand a person? Where can I join with other women to solve problems? What is my soul longing for? It's a good way to start reconnecting with these superpowers. What do I want? Where is a need? Where can I serve? Right? Where can I serve with people who share my superpowers? That's where you can start to reconnect to these and reclaim these as superpowers. Right? Okay, you guys, I'm going to stop there because that's a lot of information to take in today. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank Choose Love Ministry for sponsoring this program. If you got something out of it, please let me know. I look forward to hearing from you. And next week, 3 more superpowers. See ya.